Marcus Vaughn awakened to a pounding headache and the sterile scent of antiseptic. His vision blurred as he tried to focus on his surroundings, sleek metallic walls gleaming under soft purple lighting that definitely wasn't standard military issue. "Specimen is conscious," came a melodic voice from somewhere nearby. The words were English, but the accent was unlike anything he'd ever heard. Marcus attempted to move, only to discover his wrists and ankles were bound to what felt like an examination table. The last thing he remembered was his night patrol near the Nigerian research facility, where he'd been stationed as private security after leaving the Army Rangers. "Where am I?" His voice came out as a rasp. A tall figure stepped into view. Marcus blinked in disbelief. The woman, if you could call her that, stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent blue-tinted skin and eyes that contained no whites, just expansive violet irises. Her head was adorned with what looked like crystalline growths instead of hair. "You are being prepared for presentation," she stated matter-of-factly, running some kind of scanner over his body. "You should feel honored. Your genetic profile is exceptional, even for a human male." Honored, Marcus strained against his restraints. "I've been kidnapped." The alien woman tilted her head curiously. "Acquisition, not kidnapping. You are an asset now." Before Marcus could respond, 2 more aliens entered. They wore elaborate uniforms that reminded him of royal guards from Earth's history, only with technology integrated into the fabric itself. "Is the specimen ready for processing, Dr. Aloxi?" one asked. "Indeed, Class A physical condition, minimal damage during extraction, and—" She paused, checking her scanner. "Excellent genetic diversity markers. The Imperial Auction House will be pleased." The guards released his restraints only to secure him with energy cuffs that hummed with power. As they escorted him through luminescent corridors, Marcus tried to make sense of his situation. The architecture around him was both organic and technological, with living plants seeming to grow directly from the metallic surfaces. They eventually emerged into an enormous chamber that resembled an amphitheater. Hundreds of alien women, all variations of the same species, but with different skin tones and crest formations, sat in tiered seating around a central platform. Marcus wasn't alone. A dozen other human men stood in a holding area, their expressions ranging from terror to resignation. "Welcome to your new reality," whispered an older man beside him, his salt and pepper beard giving him a distinguished appearance despite the humiliating circumstances. "Name's Commander Jackson, former NASA, been here 3 cycles." "Marcus Vaughn, Army Rangers, what the hell is happening?" Jackson gave a bitter laugh. "Short version, we're rare commodities. These Vexilians live in a matriarchal society where males of their species are born at a rate of 1 to every 1,000 females. Human males are compatible with them somehow. We're being auctioned off to the highest bidder." Marcus watched in horror as the first man was led onto the platform. A holographic display appeared, showing his physical attributes and something called genetic viability rating. "They'll use you for breeding, protection, or status," Jackson continued. "The high-ranking ones collect us like trophies." When Marcus's turn came, the announcer's voice echoed through the chamber. "Next presentation, Terran male, designation 4872. Military training, exceptional physical conditioning, and genetic diversity rating of 9.3. As Marcus was displayed like livestock, he spotted 3 aliens in the front row who stood out from the rest. One wore an ornate crown-like structure, another had scientific instruments integrated into her uniform, and the third's attire suggested military authority. "I am not property," Marcus announced loudly, causing a ripple of surprise through the audience. "I am Lieutenant Marcus Vaughn of Earth, and I demand to be returned to my planet." The crowd erupted in a mixture of outrage and fascination. The 3 prominent aliens leaned forward with increased interest. "Spirited," remarked the crowned one. "I haven't seen such defiance in cycles." The bidding began at an astronomical sum that meant nothing to Marcus. As the numbers climbed higher, he locked eyes with the crowned alien, whose expression held something unexpected, not just desire or greed, but something that looked almost like respect. The gavel fell, sold to Duchess Talia Corvex. As the guards led him away, Marcus vowed this wouldn't be the end of his story. It was merely the beginning of a very different war than any he'd trained for. The Duchess Talia Corvex's private shuttle cut through the lavender skies of Vexel Prime with silent precision. Marcus sat in a luxurious passenger compartment, energy restraints still humming around his wrists. Across from him, the Duchess studied him with those unsettling violet eyes. "You may call me Talia," she said finally, her resonant voice carrying a musical quality that human vocal cords could never replicate. "Your defiance at the auction was unexpected. Most acquisitions understand their position immediately." "I'm not most acquisitions," Marcus replied, deliberately maintaining eye contact, something he noticed made the guard beside him uncomfortable. "I'm a free human being who was kidnapped." Talia made a gesture with long, elegant fingers. The guard pressed a panel on her wrist device, and Marcus's restraints deactivated. "A gesture of good faith," Talia explained. "Though escape would be futile, we're currently traveling at an altitude that would make surviving a jump impossible." Marcus rubbed his wrists but remained seated. "Why am I here? What do you want from me?" "Direct, I appreciate that." Talia activated a holographic display between them. "Your species is unique in our galaxy, Lieutenant Vaughn. While physically unexceptional by cosmic standards, you possess something invaluable, genetic adaptability." The display showed DNA strands comparing human and Vexilian biology. "The Vexilian Empire spans 17 star systems, but we face extinction within 6 generations," she continued. "Our reproductive rates have been declining for centuries. Males are increasingly rare, and those born often carry genetic defects." Marcus frowned. "And humans are what compatible breeding stock?" "That's the simplified explanation perpetuated by the Empress," Talia said with obvious distaste. "The truth is more complex. Human DNA contains sequences that could potentially reverse our genetic deterioration, not through crude breeding programs, but through advanced bioengineering." The shuttle descended toward an imposing structure built into the face of a crystalline mountain. Unlike the sterile, institutional design of the auction house, this building incorporated organic elements, living architecture that seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. "Welcome to the House of Corvex," Talia announced as they docked in a private hangar. Marcus was escorted through corridors lined with what appeared to be living art, plants that changed color in response to their presence. They passed Vexilian women of various ranks, each stopping to bow to the Duchess while casting curious glances at Marcus. "Your quarters," Talia said, gesturing to an entryway that slid open at their approach. The room was spacious and appointed with both alien and recognizably human furnishings, a bed of appropriate size, clothing that appeared Earth-made, and even books. "You've been preparing for humans," Marcus observed. "I've had other Terran guests," Talia acknowledged, "though none with your particular qualities." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, a smaller Vexilian entered carrying what looked like medical equipment. "This is Myra, my personal physician," Talia explained. "She'll conduct a more thorough examination than the auction house's cursory scan." Marcus stiffened. "I'm not submitting to any tests." Talia's crystalline crest shimmered, an indication of emotion, Marcus guessed. "You misunderstand your position," she said, her tone hardening. "While I prefer cooperation, I did pay 30 million credits for you. Your body is legally mine." "My body belongs to me," Marcus countered. "But I might cooperate if you answer some questions. Are there other humans here? What happens to them?" A slight smile played on Talia's blue-tinted lips. "Bargaining. Interesting. Very well, there are 17 humans currently in my household. Most serve as companions or advisors. None are mistreated." "I want to see them." "After your examination," Talia countered, "and a proper meal. You've been in stasis for nearly a week." Marcus reluctantly agreed to the examination, which proved less invasive than he feared, mostly scanning and blood sampling. Afterward, he was provided with Earth-style clothing and a meal of familiar foods, though the flavors were slightly off. Later that evening, Talia returned. She changed from her formal attire into something more casual, though still elegant. "Walk with me," she commanded, though her tone had softened. They proceeded to a vast indoor garden where impossible plants grew in artistic formations. Several humans worked among the Vexilians, appearing healthy and relatively content. "As promised," Talia gestured, "my other Terran assets." One man, noticing Marcus, approached with Talia's nodded permission. "Fresh from Earth," he asked. I'm Dr. Dominic Wells, xenobotanist, been here 3 years. Are you prisoners? Marcus asked bluntly. Dominic chuckled. Initially, yes, now. It's complicated. The Duchess treats us well and the work is fascinating, better than being sold to the military or breeding programs. Marcus noticed Talia watching their interaction closely. The Duchess outbid General Cora and Imperial Scientist Vexna for you, Dominic continued. Consider yourself lucky. They're not known for their humane treatment. As they continued walking, Talia explained more about Vexilian society, its strict hierarchies, the increasing desperation of the ruling class as their population declined, and the growing unrest among the lower castes. Why did you really buy me? Marcus asked when they reached a balcony overlooking the crystalline landscape. I doubt it was for my sparkling personality. Talia's expression became unreadable. Your genetic profile shows markers we've never seen before, and your military background is useful to me. Useful how? Before she could answer, an alarm sounded. Talia's posture changed instantly. We have an intruder, she said, activating a communication device. Security Protocol Omega, protect the Terran assets. She turned to Marcus, her expression grave. It seems your value has not gone unnoticed. The real game begins now, Lieutenant Vaughn. As they hurried back inside, Marcus realized he'd become a pawn in a much larger conflict, one that might provide the opportunity for escape, or trap him even more deeply in this alien world's deadly politics. The security breach proved to be no ordinary intrusion. As alarms blared through the Corvex estate, Marcus found himself hustled down a hidden passage by Talia herself, her crystalline crest pulsing with what he now recognized as agitation. Stay close, she commanded, pressing her palm against a seemingly solid wall. It dissolved, revealing a secure chamber filled with advanced technology. Inside, to Marcus's surprise, stood 3 other humans, 2 men and a woman, alongside several lower caste Vexilians. The perimeter has been breached in 4 locations, reported a human male with dark skin and military bearing. Tactical pattern suggests Imperial Special Forces. General Cora doesn't accept defeat gracefully, Talia muttered, activating a holographic display showing the estate's layout. Red dots indicated intruders moving with practiced precision. The woman, petite with shrewd eyes, glanced at Marcus. This is the new acquisition, the one causing all the fuss. Lieutenant Marcus Vaughn, Talia introduced. Marcus, meet Olivia Romano, former CIA operative, Colonel Darius Washington, ex-British Special Forces, and Aiden Nakamura, communications specialist. My inner circle. Marcus's surprise must have shown on his face. What, you thought you were special? Olivia smirked. Honey, we're all special here, that's the problem. Secure communications established, announced Aiden, his fingers dancing across interfaces designed for hands much larger than his own. Safe house protocols activated. Marcus watched in confusion as humans and Vexilians worked together with practiced efficiency. What is this? I thought we were property. Property on paper, Darius explained in a clipped British accent. Assets in reality. The Duchess runs what you might call an underground railroad for humans in the Empire. Not entirely altruistic, Talia interjected, her attention still on the security feeds. Your people have skills my household needs, and your genetic material is still mine by law. A nearby explosion rocked the chamber. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Time to move, Talia decided. Plan exodus. The group moved quickly through a series of hidden passages, eventually emerging in what appeared to be a subterranean hangar housing several sleek vessels. Those aren't Vexilian designs, Marcus observed, noting the differences from the shuttle that had brought him to the estate. Salvaged and modified human technology, Aiden explained proudly, untraceable by Imperial scanners. As they boarded, Marcus found himself beside Olivia, who was checking a weapon that looked like a hybrid of human and alien design. How long have you been here? He asked. 5 years, she replied, not looking up. Bought by General Cora originally. Escaped during a diplomatic visit to the Duchess 2 years ago. And you stayed, why not try to get back to Earth? Olivia gave him a pitying look. Earth is 800 light-years away, rookie, and there's something bigger happening here. The vessel lifted off smoothly as explosions continued to rock the Corvex estate. Through a viewport, Marcus watched flames engulf sections of the magnificent structure. "You're home," he said to Talia, who stood stoically at a command console. "A necessary sacrifice," she replied. "My real assets are safely evacuated." The ship accelerated into the upper atmosphere, then made a series of rapid jumps that left Marcus disoriented. Hours later, they docked at a facility hidden within an asteroid field. The structure revealed itself to be much larger inside than it appeared, housing what looked like a small colony of both humans and Vexilians. "Welcome to the Coalition," Talia announced. "The real reason I've been collecting humans." They proceeded to a command center where dozens more humans worked alongside Vexilians of various castes. On a central platform stood a holographic projection of what Marcus recognized as the Vexilian Imperial Palace. "For 10 cycles, I've been building this," Talia explained. "An alliance between my caste rebels and your people. The Empress and her council believe humans are merely breeding stock or exotic servants. They don't understand what you truly represent." "Which is," Marcus prompted. "The future," answered a new voice. An elderly Vexilian emerged from a side chamber, her once blue skin faded to pale lavender, her crystal crest cracked with age. "I am Elder Nixa, former Imperial geneticist and the first to discover the truth about human DNA." The Elder activated a complex genetic display. "The Vexilian species is dying from genetic degradation caused by our own technology. Centuries ago, we modified our genome to enhance longevity and intelligence, but introduced fatal flaws that manifest in declining birth rates and male sterility. Human DNA contains something we lost," Talia continued. "Genetic diversity and adaptability, not just for breeding, but as a template to repair our own genetic code." Marcus frowned. "If that's true, why the secrecy? Why not share this knowledge?" "Because," Darius explained grimly, "repairing the Vexilian genome would eliminate the need for human assets. The elite who profit from the human trade, including the Empress herself, would lose their power and wealth." "And those in power rarely relinquish it willingly," Talia added. A proximity alarm sounded. Security feeds showed Imperial vessels entering the asteroid field. "They tracked us," Aiden reported tensely. Talia's expression hardened. "Impossible unless," she turned to Marcus with sudden suspicion. "You were examined at the auction house." Understanding dawned. "They put a tracker in me." "Medical bay now," Talia ordered. In the medical facility, Myra quickly located a microscopic tracking device embedded near Marcus's spine. As she prepared to remove it, Marcus caught Talia's arm. "If I help you, if I join this coalition, what's in it for us, for humans?" The facility shuddered as the first Imperial weapons impacted their shields. "Freedom," Talia answered simply, "and a path home for those who wish it." "Not good enough," Marcus countered, even as the medical droid hovered near his neck. "Equal partnership, no more human assets, no more ownership." Another impact rocked the facility. Alarms blared. "You negotiate while we're under attack?" Talia asked incredulously. Marcus didn't flinch. Best time to negotiate, when both parties have something to lose. Their eyes locked in a battle of wills as explosions echoed through the asteroid base. Finally, Talia nodded. "Agreed. Now let's get that tracker out before we all die." As Myra extracted the device, Marcus realized he'd committed himself to a revolution in a world he barely understood. But looking around at the humans and Vexilians working together, he knew there was no turning back. The real war was just beginning. The Coalition's escape from the asteroid base had been narrow, with Imperial forces destroying the facility moments after their fleet of vessels scattered into the void. Now, 14 days later, Marcus stood in the laboratory of their new sanctuary, a decommissioned mining outpost buried deep within the toxic atmosphere of a gas giant. "Their tracking capabilities are improving," Marcus observed, studying tactical displays with Darius and Olivia. 3 of our 12 evacuation ships were intercepted. "The Empress is committing unprecedented resources to hunting us," Talia agreed, entering the command center with Elder Nixa shuffling beside her. "Our intelligence suggests she's personally overseeing the operation." "Because of me?" Marcus asked. "Because of what you represent," Elder Nixa corrected, her ancient voice barely above a whisper. "Come, it's time you understood." They proceeded deeper into the facility, arriving at a secure laboratory where Myra and a team of Vexilian scientists worked alongside human researchers. At the center stood an enormous DNA sequencer, its holographic projection spinning slowly in 3 dimensions. "We've completed the full genomic analysis," Myra announced, looking up from her console. "The results are extraordinary." The display shifted to show 2 DNA strands side by side, one human, one Vexilian, with highlighted sections pooling in synchronization. "Your genetic structure contains sequences that mirror our own ancestral genome," Nixa explained. "Before the Great Enhancement, when our species first achieved interstellar capability." "That's impossible," Marcus protested. "Our species evolved on completely different planets." Dr. Dominic Wells stepped forward, his expression grave. "Not as impossible as you might think. We've been piecing together the historical records that Talia's agents smuggled from the Imperial archives. The evidence suggests that approximately 12,000 years ago, Vexilian explorers visited Earth." "What?" Marcus looked between the humans and aliens. "There's no evidence of alien contact in our history." "Not in your recorded history," Talia corrected. "But your mythology is filled with tales of blue-skinned gods and goddesses, and your genetic record tells a more complete story." Myra manipulated the display, zooming in on specific genetic markers. "These sequences appear in approximately 0.04% of the human population. They're recessive traits that activate only in specific combinations, which is why humans like you are so rare and valuable. You carry active Vexilian genetic markers." Marcus struggled to process this information. "You're saying humans and Vexilians, interbred thousands of years ago?" "A small number, yes," Elder Nixa confirmed. "When our ancestors realized what they had done, violated our most sacred non-interference protocols, they erased all records and retreated from your world. But they left behind genetic traces that have persisted in your species. This is why the auction houses test for genetic viability," Talia added. "They're actually measuring the concentration of Vexilian genetic markers. The higher the concentration, the more valuable the human." "And mine?" Marcus asked, though he suspected the answer. "The highest we've ever recorded," Myra confirmed. "Your genetic profile contains active expressions of Vexilian regulatory genes that have been lost in our modern genome. Genes that control reproduction, genetic stability, and adaptability." Dominic pulled up another display showing a simulation. "With your genetic material as a template, we believe we can synthesize a treatment to repair the Vexilian genome, not just for this generation, but permanently. End their genetic degradation entirely." Marcus stared at the swirling DNA models. "So I'm not just breeding stock, I'm the cure." "Potentially," Nixa cautioned. "But developing such a treatment would require extensive experimentation, time we may not have." "And the Empress knows this?" Marcus asked Talia. "Not specifically. Imperial scientist Vexna has theorized it, which is why she bid against me at the auction. But the Empress only knows you're extraordinarily valuable for breeding." An alert sounded on Talia's communication device. Her expression darkened as she read the message. "Imperial forces have captured one of our supply vessels. They're interrogating the crew." "How long until they find us?" Darius asked. "Days, perhaps hours," Talia admitted. "We need to accelerate our plan." Marcus looked around at the laboratory. "You don't have a plan, you have a theory and a half-built lab." "We have more than that," Elder Nixa said mysteriously. She gestured to Myra, who activated a panel revealing a hidden chamber. Inside floated a crystalline structure that pulsed with internal light. "The Nexus core," Talia explained with reverence. "Salvaged from the first Vexilian ship to achieve faster-than-light travel, its computational capacity exceeds anything in the modern empire." "We've been uploading all genetic data to the core," Myra continued. "It's been running simulations, seeking the optimal treatment protocol." As if responding to her words, the core pulsed more rapidly, and the main display changed to show a complex molecular structure. "It's found something," Dominic breathed, studying the display. Myra's fingers flew across the interface. "It's a synthetic gene sequence, combining elements of Marcus's unique genome with reconstructed ancestral Vexilian DNA." "Can you synthesize it?" Talia demanded. Yes, but it would require. Myra hesitated, looking at Marcus. It would require what? He prompted. A significant amount of your genetic material, she admitted. Bone marrow specifically. The procedure would be painful. Before Marcus could respond, another alarm blared. Multiple Imperial vessels entering the upper atmosphere, Aiden reported over the comm system. They've found us. The facility shuddered as the first defensive systems engaged. Talia turned to Marcus, her violet eyes intense. We're out of time. The choice is yours, Lieutenant Vaughn. Submit to the procedure or we evacuate now and lose everything we've worked for. Marcus looked around at the humans and Vexilians who had come to depend on him, not as property, but as their best hope for survival and freedom. The facility trembled again as Imperial weapons began their assault. How long does the procedure take? He asked Myra. Under optimal conditions, 6 hours. Under battle conditions. Another explosion, closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling. We don't have 6 hours, Olivia stated the obvious, checking her weapon. Marcus made his decision. Can you extract what you need while we're moving? Myra exchanged glances with the medical team. Theoretically, yes, in a properly equipped vessel. Then we take the core, we take the lab equipment we need, and we run, Marcus decided. Where's our best chance for a defensive position to complete the procedure? Talia activated a galactic map. There's only one place in the Empire with enough security to hold off Imperial forces long enough. Where? Darius asked. Talia's expression was grim yet determined. The Imperial Palace itself. We're going to infiltrate the heart of the Empire. As the evacuation began and Myra prepared the extraction equipment, Marcus realized the irony of his situation. The asset had become the most valuable member of the revolution, not as a possession to be owned, but as an equal partner in reshaping the future of two species. The facility rocked with another explosion as the Imperial forces closed in. The Imperial Palace of Vexil Prime rose like a crystal mountain from the capital city's center, its iridescent spires piercing the lavender sky. Unlike the organic architecture of noble estates, the palace was all hard angles and imposing symmetry, a monument to power rather than beauty. No one had ever successfully infiltrated it, until now. Status report, Marcus whispered into his comm unit. He lay on a medical platform in the cargo hold of what appeared to be an ordinary supply vessel approaching the palace's service docks. Imperial credentials accepted, Aiden's voice replied from the bridge. They think we're delivering exotic flora for the Empress's personal gardens. Marcus grimaced as Myra extracted another sample from his bone marrow. The procedure had been ongoing for the 3 hours since their escape, conducted in the makeshift lab they'd established in the vessel's hold. The Nexus core pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, processing the genetic material as it was harvested. Synthesis progress, he asked through gritted teeth. 73% complete, Myra reported, her usually steady hands betraying her tension. The core is performing admirably, but we're pushing its capabilities to their limits. The ship shuddered slightly as docking clamps engaged. Through the comm, Marcus heard the muffled voices of Imperial dock officers boarding for inspection. Showtime, Olivia's voice came through. She and Darius were disguised as Vexilian crew members, their skin temporarily tinted blue with a compound Dominic had developed. Minutes that felt like hours passed. Then, inspection cleared, unloading commencing. The plan relied on precision timing and the hierarchical arrogance of Vexilian society. Nobody questioned cargo destined for the Empress herself, and the lower caste workers at the docks had been carefully selected for their sympathies to Talia's cause. Cargo secure in Imperial Hydroponics Bay, came Darius's confirmation. Moving to Phase 2. The real crew of the supply vessel, all Coalition members, began unloading the specially designed plant containers. Inside each container was not exotic flora but Coalition fighters, both human and Vexilian. I need to be mobile, Marcus told Myra, attempting to sit up. Impossible, she protested. The synthesis process requires me alive, he countered. If this infiltration fails, none of it matters. Elder Nixa, who had insisted on joining the mission despite her frailty, approached with what appeared to be a modified exoskeleton. We anticipated your stubbornness, Lieutenant. This will support your body while allowing Myra to continue the extraction process wirelessly. With careful movements, they transferred Marcus to the exoskeleton. Despite the advanced technology, pain shot through his body as needles remained connected to his bone marrow, feeding a steady stream of genetic material to the portable synthesizer strapped to his back. Duchess, Marcus calmed as he tested his mobility. Status. Imperial Council is in session, Talia replied. Her role was perhaps the most dangerous. She had entered the palace openly for the scheduled council meeting, using her noble rank as a shield. The Empress is demanding results in the hunt for coalition forces. The irony would be amusing under different circumstances. Marcus and a small team made their way through service corridors, guided by schematics provided by coalition sympathizers within the palace staff. They encountered minimal resistance. Most security was focused outward, never expecting enemies to penetrate so deeply. They reached their destination, the Imperial Broadcasting Center, housed directly beneath the council chambers. From here, every announcement from the Empress was transmitted across the 17 systems of the Vexilian Empire. Security neutralized, Olivia reported, emerging from the control room where unconscious Vexilian technicians lay bound. Broadcasting systems under our control. Synthesis at 91%, Myra announced, checking the equipment on Marcus's back. We need approximately 20 more minutes. We may not have 20 minutes, Darius warned, monitoring palace security channels. They've discovered the real cargo crew unconscious. Marcus made a quick decision. Talia, we're moving to contingency plan, initiate the confrontation. In the council chambers above, Talia stood from her assigned seat, interrupting the Empress mid-sentence, a breach of protocol that caused gasps among the assembled nobles. Your Imperial Majesty, Talia's voice came clearly through the security feed. I bring grave news that cannot wait. The human trait upon which our society depends is built on lies and corruption. The Empress, a towering figure with royal blue skin and an elaborate crystal crest, rose from her throne. Duchess Corvex, you forget yourself. Guards, remove her. First, hear the truth, Talia continued as Imperial guards approached. I have proof that our genetic deterioration can be cured without human exploitation. The Empire's foundation of human trafficking serves only to maintain power for the elite. As chaos erupted in the council chamber, Marcus nodded to Aiden. Broadcast override, now. Aiden's fingers flew across the alien console. All channels open in 3, 2, 1. Every screen throughout the palace, and across the Empire, shifted to show Marcus standing in the broadcast center, the Nexus core glowing behind him. People of the Vexilian Empire, he began, his voice steady despite the pain racking his body. I am Lieutenant Marcus Vaughn of Earth. You know my kind as assets, property to be bought and sold. Today that changes. In the council chamber, the Empress froze, staring at the screens in disbelief. Your rulers have hidden the truth, Marcus continued. Humans and Vexilians share a genetic heritage. Our DNA contains the key to saving your species without exploitation or ownership. The synthesizer on his back beeped, and Myra whispered urgently, 100% complete. Marcus didn't hesitate. He removed the vial of luminescent blue liquid and held it up for the cameras. This synthesized treatment, created from my genetic material, can repair the damage to your genome, not just for the elite, but for all Vexilians. In the council chamber, the Empress's voice rose in panic. Shut down the broadcast, arrest the Duchess. But it was too late. Throughout the palace, throughout the capital, throughout 17 star systems, Vexilians were witnessing the truth. Marcus continued, strength in his voice despite his weakening body. The coalition of humans and Vexilians has only one demand, freedom and equality for all sentient beings. No more human trafficking, no more genetic castes, a new beginning for both our species. The palace security system blared as Imperial forces converged on the broadcast center. Darius and Olivia took defensive positions at the doors. We have perhaps 2 minutes, Darius warned. Marcus nodded to Myra, who loaded the vial into an injector. One final proof, Marcus said to the cameras. He turned to Elder Nixa, who stepped forward with dignity. The former Imperial geneticist will be the first to receive the treatment. Myra administered the injection. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, incredibly, Nyx's faded lavender skin began to deepen in color. Her cracked crystal crest smoothed and brightened. Before the eyes of the Empire, the Elder stood straighter, visibly rejuvenated. "It works," she announced, her voice stronger than it had been in decades. "The genetic repair is happening at the cellular level." The doors to the broadcast center burst open as Imperial guards poured in. But they hesitated, weapons lowered, as they witnessed Nyx's transformation. In the council chamber, Talia seized the moment of confusion. "The choice is simple, Your Majesty. Continue a failing system of exploitation or embrace a future where our species survives through cooperation, not ownership." The Empress stood frozen, her authority crumbling before her eyes as nobles and counselors whispered urgently among themselves. General Cora, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "The military stands with the truth, Your Majesty. We have lost too many daughters to genetic degradation while the elite hoarded human assets for themselves." One by one, council members stood in support of the revelation. The Empress, seeing her power evaporate, made a final desperate gesture to the guards still loyal to her. "Seize the broadcast center, destroy the treatment." But when the guards burst into the room, they found Marcus standing tall in his exoskeleton, the vial empty, and the formula already transmitted to medical facilities throughout the Empire. "It's over," he told the Empress as she was brought down to the broadcast center under Cora's custody. "The revolution happened with words and science, not weapons." "You've destroyed thousands of years of Vexilian tradition," the Empress hissed. "No," Talia corrected, entering with the council members who had sided with her. "We've saved the Vexilian species from extinction and freed another from slavery." In the days that followed, the Coalition oversaw the beginning of a new era. The treatment was distributed first to those most in need, children suffering from genetic disorders and communities with the lowest birth rates. The human trafficking system was dismantled, with all assets given citizenship rights and the choice to remain or seek passage back to Earth. 1 month later, Marcus stood on the balcony of what had once been the Imperial Palace, now the Coalition headquarters. His body had recovered from the extraction procedure, though Myra warned he would always bear the internal scars. Talia joined him, watching the sunset turn the Crystal City golden. "The first successful male Vexilian birth in a decade was reported this morning," she said, "in the southern province." "Just the beginning," Marcus replied. "How are the diplomatic preparations coming?" "Earth's governments have agreed to receive our delegation next month," Talia said. "They're understandably cautious about establishing relations with the species that abducted their citizens." "They'll come around," Marcus said confidently, "especially when they see the technological exchange we're offering." Talia studied him with those violet eyes that no longer seemed alien to him. "Will you lead the delegation as we discussed?" Marcus nodded, looking out over the city where humans and Vexilians now walked freely together. "From asset to ambassador, not the career path I expected." "The most valuable things in the universe are never what we expect them to be," Talia observed. "Not property or power, but partnership." As the twin moons of Vexil Prime rose in the darkening sky, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He had been captured, sold, and valued only for his DNA. Yet in that dehumanizing experience, he had found a greater humanity, not just in himself, but in an alien species across the stars. The revolution had begun, the future awaited.